Hello, Budbur here. It's me again, Arne Pilze, and let's continue with the discussion about the recent bans. So now it's about the modern part. So Probe is gone and Golgari Great Troll is gone. What that basically means, apart from the obvious, Dredge is basically not a tier 1 deck anymore. And then, with regard to Probe, basically Infect is the one most hit by this ban. So let's have a look at the metagame lately. Dredge, okay, now it's not top tier anymore, and with Probe you have Infect significantly weakened. So what's left in the decks that have the biggest meta percentage? So Jandabzan, so Black Green Axe, mid-range decks. What's beyond that? Well, you have Burn, you always have Affinity pretty much. They seem to be kind of integral to the format. And you have Tron, which is really winning from those bans because it seems like Black-Green Axe decks will be now even more popular, and Tron preys on those. You still have Eldrazi Tron and all the different flavors of Eldrazi's. Death Shadow Aggro is really hit by the ban, and so are different other giant-alike aggro decks. Grixis Control is not hit, but Grixis Delver is hit by the ban, so you'll probably see a bit less Delver. Same for a Prowess deck, the Thing in the Ice Killfin's Tempo deck. You're probably gonna see more Titan Shift, probably not Bring to Light Shift, but Red-Green Valakut or Red-Green Breach variants. So I expect those to rise up. And now you may think that, okay, Black-Green decks should be on the rise and big mana decks should be on the rise. What does that mean? You probably want to turn to, if not Grixis Control, then maybe some Jeskai Control or Blue-White Control. And there are a bunch of other decks still out there. Ad Nauseam combo is very solid, which is not hit. Ascendancy combo is really hit as well, so the Probe ban is really hitting a lot of decks. And that's okay, because it's really hit a lot of degenerate decks that were not really balanced and not really that fair. Not insane, but I think there was a bit way too much Infect, and to some extent the Killfin deck was also not particularly exciting to play against. But yeah, mainly Infect. So you can play Dredge, you still have Eldrazi's. Blue Moon is still a deck, you don't need probes there, for example. I don't know what they mean by Burvin put here, I guess Melira deck? Or Kiki decks, perhaps. Kiki core decks, something like that. So just wanna confirm that real quick. Oh, whoa. That's some really crazy break. Okay, let's not think too much about that. But yeah, Kiki Pod, well, not Kiki Pod, Kiki Cord, or Kiki Evolution, and Abs and Company kind of won from this ban a little bit because less anger, less other graveyard hate, and stuff like that, less exiling removal, and so forth. So that kind of won, but then again, it's not really looking forward playing against all those Tron and Valakut decks, and not really liking the Jumped and Absent decks either, and not really liking Jeskai decks either. But depending on the meta and the suits of removals, maybe you want to play Voice of Resurgence in those decks again. Geeky Cord played it anyway because of evolutions, and it's just because it's a good creature to eat, not just for evolution, but yeah, just solid value. But company cut those, but it might be wanting to play that again, depends on what removal and sweepers will be most played. Yeah, but another deck that is kind of dependent on creatures and also on graveyards, much more than Absent Company, for example, is Living End. So I expect Livinant to rise up. It's really preys upon John the Nabzan. It doesn't like to play against counterspells, that's for sure. Against 3 mana decks. But that's may not be a huge percentage of future metagame. Big mana decks for Livinant, well, you don't like Anger, and you don't like, well, Anger you don't really care that much about. You care about Ugin most of all, but you can play around it, sort of. You don't have a sacrifice outlet, but that's fine. I think Livinant is more or less well positioned. I would test it quite a bit in the new format. I like Elves because now a lot of very fast decks are not so fast anymore. Oh, well, not so consistent at least, I would say. So Elves are fine, but it was never really a tier 1 deck. Another deck that I think really deserves some mentioning is Merfolks. Because if the metagame is gonna be paper, scissors, rock, meaning that you'll have big mana decks, rock decks, and blue decks, then blue decks will kind of balance out big mana decks more or less, but blue decks will struggle against black mid-range decks. And there is that. So we could return back to the Nahiri era and all those mid-range battles, for example. Yeah, and blue decks probably are not particularly excited about playing against decks like Merfolk because of Averwild, Cavern of Souls, just a bunch of pressure, Island Walk, bonuses, and stuff like that. So, depending on what actually shows up more in your meta, you could adjust to that accordingly by playing a different deck. So as I said, Livinant becomes better, mid-range decks become better, but it all can be balanced out, I think. You can maybe take back your Reanimator decks because you can probably expect less of Graveyard Hate. For instance, but if you'll see a lot of blue decks, maybe Reanimator is not that amazing because you can always spell snare and stuff for your Gurius Vengeance and so on. Burn definitely becomes better, so that's another deck that I would be looking at when you expect big mana decks, John and blue decks. So Burn is definitely becoming better, I think, in my mind. Different Haterator decks could be flourishing. Now let's have a look at the latest biggest modern event. Well, it wasn't that huge, but still 8 rounds. The other big modern event happened at the beginning of December. So this one is a bit more relevant, but the trend was the same. Dragon, in fact, was pretty much everywhere over the last couple of months, online and on paper. Okay, the winner of this Modern Mox online was a Abzan deck. I think Abzan decks and Jund decks will be going hand in hand, and with a bit of a difference in the meta share depending on what would be most popular. Basically, if it will be a Tarmogoyf metagame, sort of, or influenced by it, plus the big mana decks. Path to Exile is a much better thing to have over Bolt. If you would see a lot of, let's say, I don't know, Zoo-ish type of decks, even though Death Shadow is kind of a crippled quite a bit. But you could see Burn and some company decks. So it depends what you want more, Bolt or Path. It's just about what's most annoying threats you would be seeing. For example, Bolt cannot kill Flare if it's already with Delirium, so it's a 4-4. So it all depends on those kind of things. And then Lingering Souls is much better against opposing Lilianas than Bolts and stuff like that. And second place you have this Bands Company based around Knight of Reliquary and Retreat to Coral Helm. So you have that deck. So basically, kind of banned Spirits variation with a bit of a combo out, so to speak, because you can fetch Kissing Wolf Run and stuff like that, and just get there with a couple attacks with the Knight. Also, sometimes pumped with the Retreat itself as well. Yeah, it has a lot of those. And now this is where you would see Reflector Mage put away as well. So there is that. So big mana decks, the prime time decks, they will be split between the classical version and the Further Breach one with Demercool and stuff like that. I don't know which one is better, probably the classic one, because it's not so dependent on opposing player having counter spells or removals, stuff like that. Well, it's mainly about counter spells, I guess. But you can adjust. With summoning traps, for example, with red traps and stuff like this. That Shadow Aggro, which is now crippled. Eldrazi gains quite a bit. It's a deck that I'm looking forward to play. I'm missing just a few things from the deck. Mainly just the Tron lands and some stuff. I like that deck more than Blunt Eldrazi. It's a bit more explosive and trumpy in the sense that I mean, you lose steerings, you lose cool sideboard cards, but now you don't really need them a whole lot because you don't need that rest in peace and stuff like that against Dredge, for example. You don't need so many things against Infect. You still have Whale Dismember main, for example. All this is a bit slow, but you can always just Goldfish with Tron on turn 3. You have bombs, contortions in the sideboard, so Needle for the Nexus, so you're not that bad off. And now you can possibly think about playing something else in the slots of the Relics and Surgicals, but then again, you see, while maybe Surgical is not that amazing anymore, I think the tiebreaker was the Dredge matchup, but Relic you probably want to keep because Tarmogoyfs and Snapcaster decks and stuff like this, so that could be annoying. But it depends. Those things, I wouldn't say those are really annoying. For this deck, for example, it has a lot of mid-range capacities, so it can fight through all that. So maybe you don't need this, and you can try to play something else. I don't know, it depends. But without any graveyard, it's maybe a bit too risky. Then you end up playing against Living End or Absent Company and stuff like that, and you have no good answers apart from just removals and pressure. Affinity is gonna stay another deck to look into. Yeah, in fact, it's crippled, but it's not totally dead. Of course, without the probes, it's gonna be a different story. That's for sure. It's gonna be a different story. People will probably try to play it, but probably not play it at a big tournament, because now it's just not that consistent and too risky. You can't know when to go off and go in. Yeah, Grizzly's control gained a bit from the bans, I think. Blue-white control as well. Dredge's Gun. Can play Delver. A lot of Grixis online, it seems. This is just a small oddity. No 6-2 at this modern marks. Your kind of a almost classic black-green Death Cloud deck, which is an oddity, but I guess it was a pad deck. And it could be quite okay if you don't see too many blue decks so that they don't counter your Death Cloud and stuff like that. Well, you have Witness to buy it back, and you have a lot of stuff to kind of distract them. And some discard spells too. So yeah, if you want a rogue deck, this is one option, for example. Another 6-2, that's just a blue-white value deck with 3 Blessed Alliance in the deck. Just a thing to notice. Tronics, of course, Jund, your regular Jund, Stretch is gone, Burn, but this is already 5 free brackets, so not that many things to spot here. Black-white tokens could be a thing because they're relatively well to find against. They're relatively good to find against mid-range decks. They don't like the Tron decks though. That's a thing. They don't like those, but they're okay playing against blue decks and black mid-range decks. Boggles is a thing you might want to play if you don't see that many. What is it? I don't know what's the matchup against blue. Probably okay too. Tron could be an issue, I guess, because of Organ and the Stone from the main deck. So again, a lot of decks don't want to play against big mana decks, and Tron and Val could. Unless you're a blue control deck. So that's gonna be the defining stuff in this new Modern Metagame. On which side you want to be, and how much of each of those kind of three major parts of the meta will be present at your local metagame, at your local store. Do know about D&T or different taxes or Hater, Hate Bears kind of deck? Probably okay. It kind of depends. They don't mind playing against blue decks because of Aver Violence, just a lot of pressure and mana denial. But I don't think they're particularly awesome against black mid-range decks. So that's another thing. But I'm not a huge expert in that issue. Maybe the matchup against black mid-ranges is not that horrible. But it's also another deck to look into, I think. Not really thinking about Azusa Amulet decks. It's like, it's not as powerful as it used to be. But yeah, Spellcallers and Company and all the rest. I mean, Jeskai Spirits or Band Spirits is another option what to play if you want something not so ridiculous and consistent. That's basically it. Killfin decks are kind of dead, as well as Ascension decks. Fishies, I told about those, about Merfolk and Company. Well, it really depends on the build and the pilot and the experience. And I think it's fine. It was fine even with a lot of infects and dredge in the meta and angers. You just needed to adjust to all that. Now it's definitely now the company decks are definitely better positioned. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed this, hope this was informative. Leave any feedback in the comments below. And yeah, maybe I'll play a bit of Modern on Moto, but more likely I'll be just playtesting the format a bit before some local open on paper and record some matches offline. Okay, see you next time folks, goodbye, until the next sale.